there is so much going on at so many levels at the same time, coming from the past, in the present, with a vector going towards the future, and this is just horizontal, and it's influenced by what's vertical. And all of that is happening at the same time, instantly, at all times, now. Your nervous system, its real function, it's like an antenna, partly, it's part antenna, is supposed to collect that data and transform it into knowledge that guides your actions. That's how you're supposed to navigate in the world. There is so much data. So if you start to understand yourself and you understand your body and how it works, and when I'm talking about your body, I'm talking about your body, mind, but how it's also constructed, you start to understand my body's pretty fucked up. It's shot, it's closed, it's like locked. And its capacity to endure information. I'm not talking about the internet and consuming series on TV. I'm talking about what's happening around you. Not through the intellect because you read an article. I'm talking about feeling. Because that's how the nervous system functions, isn't it? It picks up, it receives data. Some is it's sensory, but there's also subtle data. And then you feel it. There's so much data that if you would have to feel it at this point and you wouldn't know how to process it, organize it, put it together and act upon it, you'd go insane. So for countless generations, our people have been dumbed down so that they can look at life from whatever angle the so-called elite or the zoo masters want. They want you to just see this. So they beat your brain, they beat your nervous system, they condition you, they brainwash you to see life from only one perspective so that you do not know or perceive everything else. You just see what they show you. Just like a horse with the blinders. You just see what the master wants you to see. So essentially what they're doing through this process is shutting your nervous system down, shutting it 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 down. Then there's the food that comes with it. The food also shuts it down. It locks you until you're like in such a small bandwidth of perception that you don't know up from down. So if somebody would remove all those blinders instantly, you would go insane. Your nervous system would get shot like a short circuit in the circuit board. Psh! Because there would be so much data and your nervous system, which is a living tissue, wouldn't be able to handle that voltage. So the process of healing is to systematically remove those tensions. That means the blinders, what has conditioned you to be essentially small, and slowly train your nervous system to be able to cope with more and more and more power. Power, aka knowledge, aka information, aka energy. And by the nervous system reclaims this natural capacity to receive that, process it, organize it, and then it's not only that, once it's organized, then you have to apply it. So there's a saintly person called Nanak who said once upon a time, truth is everything but higher still is true living. So truth, we're talking about a power, we're talking about the power of knowledge, call it what you like, but that's like absolute clarity. It penetrates your nervous system, but it's not enough to know it, you gotta live it. If it doesn't lead to action, it's not the truth. So that's as simple as that. So you're supposed to gather that data and then you have to act. Well, you don't have to act. If it's the truth, it makes you act. But let's just keep it simple. You have to now act it. You have to live it, which is a whole other realm of experience, just the doing. So it's quite something. And what I think people don't realize is to the extent that humanity has been enslaved, by which process they have been enslaved. And when you think you watch a video, you're free, this is why they laugh at you. This is why it's on YouTube, which is part of the so-called elite. This is the zoo's TV. They don't care that it's there because it won't change anything. Don't you understand? It's not because you watch a movie with your mind that that truth has been awakened inside of you. And if the truth isn't awakened inside of you and it ain't circulating in your nervous system, that means there's no power. Right? It's like a person who, in order to motivate themselves, needs to listen to a song. Like, you don't have your own willpower. Willpower means I'm 100% clear who I am, what I want, where I'm going, and why, and I'm doing it. I cannot help myself. It must be done. That's music or no music. So the kids, scratch this. Your average individual it doesn't circulate. So what do? They try to hack themselves Tony Robbins style. Now, here we go. Energy! Right? They try to like stimulate their nervous system with emotions to try to trick their brains into fulfilling a certain action. They try to listen to music to prime them, to push them. But that doesn't awaken the clarity of the why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I will do it. In other words, it's not circulating in your nervous system and the action is not coming from within. So unless it's coming from within, you don't have the power. It's not real. So people don't realize to which extent the nervous system, over generations of conditioning, we're talking about thousands of years of conditioning, has been literally, it's like, you see, there's a dog, you see these dogs? They're like this. Do you think this thing lives in the jungle? Right? This little shit doesn't live in the jungle. This little fucking thing wasn't made by nature. It was breeded. Let's say that all dogs originate from the wolf. We're talking about a wolf. That's a motherfucker. You don't fuck with a wolf, right? And it's a little thing now. How do we get from a wolf to that little thing? So they breeded the animals to become a house pet so that your girlfriend can have a little dog to entertain her when she's feeling lonely because she doesn't have no kids and no life. Right? So the same process has been happening to human beings for thousands of years. The human beings are being breeded and have been breeded and are continuing to be breeded, and it's happening in front of your own eyes. And if you could have learned something from this so-called COVID war, you could see it in front of your eyes as it's happening. One day there's nothing, the next day there's something, and suddenly everybody's scared. That is conditioning. It's a psychological operation where you're being systematically brainwashed. But this is for thousands of years. And what you don't understand is, like, when you play with a person's nervous system, it creates an effect in the entirety of the body. The body, that means the nervous system of the body. It means the muscles, the tissues, the fascias, the hormonal system. Everything is the chemistry, the entire chemistry of the body is affected. And then if the fear remains, it gets locked in. And it creates an anchoring point in the core of the brain. And the rest, and the compensation system establishes itself. And now it's because of course you masturbate, right? So when you're going to have new sperms, the new sperms are going to have that code. You know the deal. Are going to have that code in them. So your little fishy are dumb as you. Now let's say you go see that girl. She has the same similar issues, right? And then you fuck. So now that conditioning is now being multiplied. So the next generation is already dumbed down, and then they receive their dose. So we're talking about this for thousands of years. So you think that because you watch a YouTube video that you're free? You think now because somebody told you that reality is one, that you figured it out and now you know oneness? That is part of the delusion. So when I'm talking about the nervous system and the fact that it's closed down, and if you people don't have access to the full gamut of the nervous system. If they did, they would get shot. They would short circuit. Well, that's because there's a conditioning, and the process of reacquiring your power is to remove what's in the way. You have to retrain your nervous system. You have to unfuck yourself, technically. So you're going to essentially need a teacher to help you unlock your nervous system step by step in a safe, effective way that respects the laws of nature. And you're going to need a teacher and a sangat. Sangat means a community of people who are interested in the same process to support you, So while you go through the process of deconditioning, because technically the process is taking you back through history. And we're talking about deep ass fucking trauma. We're talking about the traumas of your ancestors, the trauma of your ancestors' ancestors. We're talking about traumas of civilization. We're talking about the traumas that humanity has lived, which is in every single one of us, and is holding your nervous system hostage. That trauma has to be removed. So going to see a shrink and talking about the fact that mommy didn't love you and preferred your brother, that's like baby stuff. Baby stuff. That's not even born stuff. How about that? I'm talking about real shit here. And you're going to need a teacher to help you to unlock the nervous system effectively, safely, and you're going to need support while you go through that process. And also when the power starts to come down, you have to learn how to manage power now. It's going to get to your head, I assure you. And you're going to go silly. Like we all do, don't we? Right? So when the power starts to come down, let's say we unlock a certain level of the certain nervous system, there's more power coming through. So now you feel like, whoo, okay. That's one day, and the next day you feel totally depressed because you realize that you're a little bitch. At least you understand. So now there's a woo going on. But there's all the shit and the toxins inside of you and the mental perversions, and you're like, that power now wants to circulate, but it can't circulate, and all the twistedry is there, and the twistedry says, yeah, let's use that power to get what we want. Anyways, maybe it's too advanced for you. Maybe you understand. If you do, great. But for sure, you need a teacher. And if you don't have a teacher, well, I wouldn't want to be you. How about that?